I'm going to say something a little unpopular. I don't believe in rebrands. And I don't think you need one either. Because, let's be honest with ourselves. How many times have we rebranded our lives over the years? New aesthetics, new routines, new Pinterest boards, new version of you for the new year. And how many of those actually stuck? Exactly. And don't get me wrong. I love growth. I love evolution. I love intentional change. But constantly trying to reinvent yourself every January? That ain't growth. That's avoidance. That's us chasing a fantasy version of ourselves instead of building consistency with the woman we're already becoming. Everybody's in their becoming her era. And I get the sentiment, but for me, I'm not trying to become her anymore. I'm focused on being her, being the woman who keeps her word to herself, being the woman who moves with discipline instead of motivation, being the woman who builds systems instead of relying on willpower, being the woman who takes care of her health, her mind, her faith, her finances, even when nobody's watching. That woman isn't created by a rebrand. She's created by repetition. I had to get really honest with myself about last year. I made a vision board for 2025. I had goals written down. I had intentions. I had all the cute aesthetic energy. But when I really sat with it, a lot of those goals didn't fully happen the way I imagined. Some things, they moved forward. Other things stalled. Even some things got pushed off. And some of those same goals quietly followed me into this great old year of 2026. Not because I didn't care, and not because I wasn't capable, but because I didn't have strong enough systems to support any of them. I mean, I had vision, but I didn't have enough structure. And that made me realize a vision board doesn't actually build your life. Your daily choices do. So, instead of pretending last year didn't happen and creating another aesthetic reset, I decided to reflect instead. I did a life audit. I looked at my health, my routines, my finances, my content creation, my spiritual life, my mental health, my structure, and I asked myself 3 simple questions. What worked? What didn't work? And what needs to change? I realized where I was consistent and where I kept avoiding things, where I was growing and where I was staying comfortable. And a lot of the goals that crossed over into this year weren't anything new. They were, I would call them unfinished systems. And that's important, because you don't need a new identity to fix that. What you need is clarity and better structure. And that's also why I did not make a vision board this year. Not because vision boards are bad, because they're not. I actually love them. But for me, personally, I realized I didn't need more vision. Yeah, that wasn't my problem. I needed more execution. I already knew the life I wanted. I already knew the kind of woman that I was becoming. What I need now are systems that help me show up consistently. So instead of spending time curating pictures of the life that I want, I'm spending the time building the routines that support that life. After doing my life audit, I got really intentional about how I set my goals. I'm using what's called SMART goals. And For those who know what that is, I know that might sound basic because a lot of us learned this in school, but there's a reason that it actually works. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, means your goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So specific would be you know exactly what you're working toward. Measurable, you'll use to track your progress. Achievable is you making it fit into your real life and not this fantasy that we've all picked up from social media. Relevant is it actually matters to you in the season that you're in. And then time-bound means that it has a deadline so it doesn't just go on forever. Using SMART goals forces you to stop saying things like, I want to be better, and start saying, here's actually what better looks like and how I'm moving toward it. That's how you stop dreaming and start building. So instead of overwhelming myself with a full year plan, I'm working in 12-week seasons, 1 quarter at a time. It keeps me focused and it gives me room to adjust. And it also prevents me from burning out before burnout even can start. So I purchased Notion templates to help me organize my content and planning. I built out a structured to-do list. I have a habit tracker to support my daily consistency. And I also bought another Notion template, but it is a 12-week year planner so that I can map out everything per quarter clearly. When everything lives up here in this noggin, I get extremely overwhelmed. And when I'm overwhelmed, I procrastinate. When I procrastinate, absolutely nothing moves. And with having these systems in place, it removes every little bit of friction that can cause that. This is what being her actually looks like in real life. There is no aesthetic resets, no dramatic reinventions, no kind of pressure to perform. It's just clarity, small, consistent actions, refinement instead of rebranding. And I really want you to reflect on this for yourself too. What did you say you were going to do last year that didn't quite happen? What goals followed you into this year? Where did you need better systems instead of more motivation? That's where your growth lives. You do not need a new identity this year. You do not need a new personality. You don't need a new aesthetic. You need alignment. You need clarity. You need consistency. You don't become that woman. You practice being her. And that's the energy I'm moving with this year.